Very good day to everyone. I'm Joe, Head of Commercial for Innovative, a company which specializes in EKYC technologies. Today, I would like to share with you about identity proofing, especially in the digital onboarding process of your customers. At the end of my session, I hope you'll have a better idea on how to implement these technologies and the strategies for implementation. Let us start by looking at a few trends in today's digital onboarding journeys. The current pandemic has shown us that going digital is inevitable and remote customer engagement is no longer an option, but a necessity. Today, more so than ever, capturing customers online is no simple task. There are so many options for the similar products and services that your customers can choose from. In order to convince your customers that you have the best option for them, apart from just having the best features in your app, you also need to ensure you have a seamless process to onboard them securely. Any process that takes too many steps or a considerable amount of time will deter a possible sign-up to use your services. To ensure you have onboarded the right customer, you'll need to integrate with known and reliable information sources as a form of validation on the information they shared. By using EKYC technologies, biometric and document verification provides the ability to determine the authenticity of your online customer. And by building an initial profile of your customers, leveraging on any existing connections, you will be able to develop better customer engagement and communication plan with your customers. Fraud. Battling fraud has always been a concern as it affects the profitability of your business and users. According to PwC, fraud cost companies over $42 billion in the last 2 years. During the pandemic, fraud attacks have also increased by more than twice. A total of 1.1 billion online fraud attacks were detected just last year. As an average, there is a 25% chance your online transaction may be subjected to some form of fraud attack. Some of the most common fraud cases happen during signing up on a new account, attempting to log in as a different user, another user, and transactions that involve something of value, like transferring money. Some of the main reasons for these attacks include the global COVID crisis, where hackers are taking opportunity during this chaotic situation to commit more fraud, hopefully go undetected. There is a growth in e-commerce uptake during the periods of lockdown, shifting all the buy and sell online. Marketplace platforms have also grown by having more social commerce, dating apps, food delivery, alternative transportation, finance, investments, and etc. We also see payments moving online, especially in the form of e-wallets. There is an increase in digital services led mainly by the banking sector. There is also an increase in sophistication in attacks and scams using personalizable identifiable information, or PII. These scams look so real as they know so much about us. And the technologies that was used to deter an attack previously today has been circumvented due to the enhancements. Having said that, companies still have to embark on journeys to digitize their businesses, and in this case, managing risks of fraud becomes key. In the various researches that was conducted, the growth of RegTech adoption will grow by 290% between now and 2025, according to Juniper Research. There will also be 329 million new bank accounts opened via digital onboarding, with 463 million in savings using technologies based on AI. Gartner also predicts that 80% of companies will be using some form of EKYC technologies as part of their onboarding process, from what is maybe at 30% today. Here are some key business risks when it comes to online customer onboarding. Every business hopes to get genuine customer who will buy from them continuously if possible. A fraudulent identity, on the other hand, normally has a malicious intent to benefit from you or your users illegally. This will result in a spike in business costs due to the remedies needed to contain the fraud situation, resulting in financial loss. Sometimes it is also a regulatory breach in compliance, which may have higher implications. Here are some of the types of online identity fraud. We begin with the document fraud, of which documents can be tampered with, replacing parts of the document with the identity of a spoofing party. Fake documents are replicas of the real thing, and a document information can be tampered by changing the data itself on the document. In terms of identity fraud, we have impersonation, either via digital means or physical means using masks, or fake images that were stolen online and attempting to mimic the actual person. And technical fraud involves stealing of access to the accounts and conducting unauthorized transactions. And by knowing loopholes in an app, it can also be exploited for fraud. Okay, let me now take you a journey on how a manual document verification can be done online. Looking at the three samples on the screen, which of these Malaysian ID document is genuine at submission? Well, the devil is actually in the details. We can start by looking at the finer details. In this case here will be the microprint, which is the finely printed text found on the card itself. The clarity on the microprint will be a determinant factor. In this case, sample 1 and sample 3 seems to be sharp and clear compared to sample 2. So we can actually safely say perhaps sample 1 and 3 could be genuine instead of sample 2. Next, we will evaluate the quality of the print information on the card. Typical prints are done on high quality printers, which results in sharp prints. And comparing the samples, sample 1 seems to have blurred edges, indicating a possibility of an inkjet printing. The remaining 2 samples seems fine as per original. And based on the process of elimination, sample 3 seems to be the remaining acceptable one as a genuine submission. But if we just do a visual inspection, we would think that sample 2 seems to be quite authentic according to the acceptable color characteristics. Then why was it not considered then? When we inspect the image further by enlarging it, we also find a common pattern which overlays the entire image. This is known as the Moya Effect, which often happens when the image is taken from a screen. Therefore, although the card seems genuine, it is actually not captured from a physical ID document. So, the next step after verifying the submitted document is to match a live face of the applicant with a photo from the submitted document. This is done to recognize the rightful owner of the identity document. Of course, the challenge is to detect lookalikes or even older photos of the genuine person. And in order to perform the manual verification of facial images, it requires someone who has the experience in performing these tasks. So, manual verification or human eyeballing is a slow and cumbersome process and is challenging and costly to execute on a large-scale basis. Most of the time, it doesn't happen in real time, as implementing it will give your users a very bad experience of waiting. It can be prone to inconsistent results too, depending on the person who is performing the task. More so, if you are dealing with many types of possible documents, just imagine the kind of team you'll need in order to process all the possible combinations. In summary, the aim of digital onboarding technologies is to bridge the manual verifications and replace them with automated processes, often based on AI technologies. Such technologies have the ability to extract information from documents accurately. But apart from just extracting the information, it can also validate the security features of a document, check to ensure all the landmarks in documents are located as per original, with anti-fraud capabilities looking at all the features which are normally hard to spoof, and validating the information to ensure the content is not altered in any way. So, Innovative has a product for digital onboarding and it's called EKYC. It is a digital ID verification technology to support the EKYC process and identity fraud management in regulated industries. Mimicking a manual verification process, EKYC processes goes through 4 steps verification at the back end with an optional additional step for further verification. So the customer just have to capture the ID document and send a selfie to perform the entire verification. The entire process can be concluded within 45 seconds. EKYC is provided as individual component APIs that you can actually use to design a good user experience for your customers. Let me walk you through a digital journey using EKYC. The first step is actually where the component of OKID is used to capture the ID. And by capturing the ID, is able to recognize what type of ID it is, at the same time captures the details, the data, the photo, as well as the card image. Currently, it supports all the Southeast Asian identity documents and worldwide passports. It even has the capability to support OCR, NFC, and chip readers. The second step actually involves the capture of a selfie, which is then processed by OKFace and OKLive. OKFace performs the facial verification, which verifies a live face photo against the ID photo that was submitted. It has a false match rate of below 1 in a million. And what OKLive does is to ensure that the image that was submitted, that was captured from the camera, is from a live person, and it's called liveness attack. This is actually also be able to prevent deepfake attacks or something that is being captured from a screen. And the last component is actually OKDoc, which actually does the document verification, which checks all the landmarks and ensures that the document that's presented is a genuine document itself. Like I say, OKDB is the last component that is able to query and connect to third-party external databases to further validate the information on the ID document. Moving deeper into the components, the OKID OCR component supports identity documents of the Southeast Asian countries and also the worldwide passports with MRZ. It automatically extracts the ID number, name, photo, and other relevant ID details from the card printed surface, and it can return the data for you so that you can integrate it back into your application. It also automatically crops the photo into a card-sized identity so that it's easier for you to process it later. The OKID component has a component for EPassport as well, and it supports Android and iPhone or iOSs. It automatically decrypts all the iCal compliant ePassport chips from the input itself, and it prevents passport document from tampering by matching the information of your passport visually as well as from the chip itself. OKLive is the component that does facial detection to ensure that the person the image that was captured from the camera is a live person during that moment. It's based on convolutional neural network AI frameworks. Effectively, it will prevent spoofing from a face that is being presented as a printed photo, or a face that has been captured from a screen, and even an animated face that has been captured from deepfakes softwares. as well as a printed mask. OKFace is the facial verification component that is able to compare the photos and the ID photo and the live face photo itself with a 1 in a million false match rate. It is also proven to work in multi-ethnic populations with variations in skin complexion and religious faith. Some of the results of OKFace are shown here. It is able to accurately verify faces with ages difference up to more than 20 years. It is also able to differentiate from lookalike faces. It also has the capability to verify a partially imperfect photo together with headgears like a scarf. In terms of OKDoc, there are 3 key aspects of the verification of the document. The first one is actually visual compliance. Secondly is security feature detection, and then content tampering. In visual compliance, this is OKDoc component will be able to detect photocopies, will detect landmarks, and also detect if the image is taken from a screen. It will also compare the security features of the document if there is an existence of a hologram, microprint, or even optical ink. In terms of content tampering, it does the font check for all the ID numbers, content substitution detection, holographic photo comparison, and even checks for data consistency by calculating the checksum. OKDoc also has the capability to validate worldwide passports by comparing the visual inspection zone, where the data is organized and printed visually, with the machine readable zone, and is able to actually match the data in both. So if you just temper the data on the visual zone, it will not match with the data in the machine readable zone. So here is a summary of the verification points that can be performed on an ID document where it is relevant. In this case here, this is a Malaysian ID card. And here are the verification points at the back of the ID document. The last component in the EMAS EKYC suite is also an optional component. It's called OKDB. This component integrates with external data sources for additional validation. It does so in 2 ways. It can implement an automated robot to query existing online services for the existence of a certain ID and retrieve information from the sites, like voters registration site or driver's license status check sites. It can also integrate with third-party APIs directly to data sources found within or out of your organization, like AML, sanction lists, blacklists, or political exposed individuals. So, in order to get it right, the technology selection has to be according to user journeys. So we would like to select capabilities based on the use cases by mapping out the customer journey and evaluating where identity proofing and affirmation tools can add value, particularly in conjunction with authentication and fraud detection tools. Secondly, we build a business case for investing to improve the identity proofing aspects of remote onboarding processes by leveraging on the increased focus on digital transformation projects. Thirdly, we should create scalable and flexible identity proofing and information processes by implementing a solution with strong orchestration capabilities and be able to manage the complexity of multiple integrations. And lastly, we should treat identity proofing, online fraud detection, and user authentication as activities on the same spectrum as the risk mitigation for your company. So that's all the slides I have on digital proofing, and let me also run through a bit more about who Innovative is. Innovative started way back in 2011. It is a 10-year-old company today. We are incorporated in Malaysia with offices in Singapore and Indonesia. We have customers in all 10 ASEAN countries, and in the countries that we do not have an office, we actually have local partners serving them. Our key business are divided into 3 pillars. The first one and the key important one is actually the EKYC or Digital ID Assurance. We also have a low-code and local process automation pillar, which actually implements onboarding workflows for EKYC, as well as biometric authentication business. Here is a map of some of our customers from this region in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Brunei, Cambodia, Philippines, Thailand. Yeah. In 2020, we have processed more than 3.5 million ID. We have done more than 3.5 million ID verifications, and this year we are targeting 7 million ID verifications. We have also won some awards from various organizations, the last one being the Star Awards this year, beginning of this year. We have also embarked on an ISO 27001 Information Security Management Initiative, of which we were awarded also in January this year, and recently we are also the champion of the Huawei Spark competition. Okay, in summary, leveraging AI as a co-worker allows your business to operate round the clock while ensuring fraud is kept at bay. Thank you for your time in attending this session. If you need to know more about information about how to implement the EKYC technologies, feel free to email me at joe@innovative.com. Thank you very much.